Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Well, as the days go on, you know it's going to be later and later for the daylight to break. So it'll be just in another month. It's just going to be a nighttime challenge because we're getting further away from the longest day. But there it is, the daylight creeping in. Somebody was saying, your videos look terrible with this camera. I said, well, it's in the dark. You can't really focus on it. It's meant to be in the dark. People have asked me about that in the past. Turn on some lights. I said it defeats the purpose of Dawn Busters, where it's in the dark and then slowly the sunrise comes, you see. Might be a silly concept, but if we had regular time, oh my eye. If we had regular time instead of stinking daylight savings time, it'd be easier to do it. James Frias. You, Ron, let's get it. Yeah, we're getting it. All right, so this morning, now this weekend, I don't know. It could be hard to do Dawn Busters. I'm going to be busy this weekend with things going on. So, you can't. I mean, what are you going to do? Dawn Busters constantly and don't do anything else? No. You say, well, just skip those days. You can't do it all the time. Skip them. It's getting better. Yes. Skip the days and forget about it. Good idea. But I have a better idea. My idea is don't skip the days. Just piggyback the days on another day. Like if I have a day off of work, do them on that day, later in the day. All I got to do is mark it off on the calendar. I have a calendar book, and I put a little check, say, okay, like tomorrow, Wednesday, that day is already taken. I've already done a video for that day. That slot's gone. You say, I ain't never heard of somebody scheduling drinks. It is a schedule. I like to do the taste challenges. You say, well, I guess you make a schedule for beer drinking. I do make a beer drinking schedule, in fact, and people say that's crazy. And like my friend David was talking to me last night saying, I guess you have this something like set down on when you're going to do it. And I say, I do actually. I had drank one when I got home from work. Not immediately. I went walking and edged the yard and stuff. Did some dusting in the house. So I drank one serving, which is 12 ounces. Later on, closer to getting dark, I drank another 12 ounce. And that was it. And if that's something to be ridiculed, guess what? I don't even care. I have a schedule, 22 to 24 a week. 12 ounce servings is usually more like 22. 24 is more the exception than the rule. Almost every week. I do the Dawn Busters, about 2 or 3 ounces of wine with lunch. That's it. I mean, if I'm at work, I'm not going to drink wine at work. I'm going to drink coffee. Coffee. Everybody else drinking soft drinks, Coke and all that. So, that's the way I like to do it. Okay. You might want to drink randomly and you might drink a lot, all the time, every day. Maybe some people I know, they'll go 3 or 4 days, they don't drink anything, any alcohol. But then on the weekend, they go berserk, drink unheard of amounts. I don't dictate people's ideologies or their plans, their life plans. I might give suggestions. I don't dictate. Ferocious Bumblebee. Enjoying Jack on Ice watching your video. Oh, thank you. So now let's get to this. So that's the plan. So if you see some double ups this week and next week, don't think much of it, except that it's for scheduling reasons. And I just want to get through it. So you say, well, it's like a hamster in a wheel. You just don't really get anywhere. You want to get through it so you can get to the next one, and then do that and get to the next one, do that and get to the next one. And you're just turning. Yes, I think that's true. I was thinking about that the other night. But there is no end game anyway. There's no like point where you say, well, that's it. I've accomplished it. I've reached the end. And now it's obviously cyclical and redundant in a way, but it's fun. You know, it's kind of hobby. So McClellan 360, some Guinness, Ron. Yeah, I've done that many times. Okay, so, oh, you're drinking some Guinness, I guess you're saying. So we got Royal Canadian. I bought this at Discount Depot. Oh, you see it here and there in Louisiana, but it's not too common, honestly. Discount Depot on US Highway 90 business route westbound, close to the intersection with Louisiana Highway 45. People that know what I'm talking about, that's Marrero. Pretty nice store. I mean, their selection is craziness. And they have great prices. Like they had this vodka, right? Velikov. I don't drink vodka, but Velikov vodka from Heaven Hill. A liter bottle. Get what I'm saying, for $3.99. Now beat that price. Guess what? You'll never beat it because it ain't gonna happen. But this Royal Canadian, they had a few bottles left, and it was $8.99 for a $7.50. I figured, well, I had bought the glass $3.75, not far away in the same town along the river, close to the river, Mississippi River, at a place called Ali and Sons. Well, that was $5 for the half size. This is $8.99 for the full. So this is actually $1 and a penny less. $1 and a penny less. So I figure, what the heck? Now that the $3.75 was a clear bottle, wasn't it? Yeah, and it had those strange bubbles in it. Looked like some old glass from the 1930s. Knowing Sazerac, I mean, they might have glass bottles left over from the 1930s that they use. They might have this huge warehouse full. They don't wait, because you'll notice a lot of Sazerac bottles, like the glass would be wavy or have bubbles in it. Stuff like it didn't come out of a factory, you know, like it wasn't automated. Because when you get the automated glass, it's always like perfect. You know, you don't have rumples and like bubbles in the glass, really. But if it's hand blown, you know, like somebody got the old method where they blown them by hand, you'll have all that. And it's strange that Sazerac has this, but I don't know. It's an old company, goes back to the 1800s, early 1800s. But there is Royal Canadian. It's got the Canadian leaf, the maple, no crown, but blended Canadian whiskey, distilled under supervision of the government of the Dominion of Canada, product of Canada, bottled at Buffalo Trace in Frankfort, Kentucky, though, because Buffalo Trace is owned by Sazerac. So Royal Canadian, and it's Sazerac. The Dominion of Canada, that's an older term. They don't say that anymore over there. It's kind of considered like embarrassing. Like, what I mean is like an old form of the country. Like they used to say that, the Dominion of Canada. And it's still part of their law. It says they're creating a dominion called Canada. But the implication is that was a self-governing colony. A dominion be like a self-governing colony. So now they say, well, we're now a realm, an independent kingdom, a realm. It's a higher status than a dominion. Whatever the case, the bottle still says it. Okay, and that bottle is not from 1867 or 1949. That bottle's got a barcode on it. So that bottle's from recently. Oh my goodness. Now we got Crown Royal, Royal and Royal. You say, oh, I know Royal Canadian cheated off of them. You know, they stole that name trying to mimic Crown Royal. Well, that would be true, except that Royal Canadian came out in 1934 and Crown Royal came out 5 years later. So unless they went back in the time machine and cheated. So anyway, Crown Royal, the Fine Deluxe, the expensive, I say expensive because this was $44.99 for the 1,750 milliliter glass bottle. And if you bought that size of Royal Canadian, it would probably be like $16.99. What would you rather pay, $16.99 or $44.99? But I did get 2 glasses, Crown Royal glasses with it, the gift pack. I'm sure we'd all rather pay $16.99, but then you get that beautiful plastic bottle, you know. But anyway, the question of the hour. Let's go with the regular bottle size prices. We always like to extrapolate it from a 750, the old fifth, a 1/5 gallon, 20% of a gallon. Well, $8.99 for Royal Canadian versus $23.99 for Crown Royal. Let's keep that in mind. $8.99, so that's $9 or $24. You might get it $23 because I noticed that Supporters has a special, so you can get it for $23. So we'll go with the sale price. It's like the stores take turns having the sale for the same products. Is that collusion where they secretly agree on a price? Yeah. Is it illegal? Yeah. Do they enforce it? How you going to enforce it? You know what I'm saying? Like, we can spy on you can't even stop people from being naughty in a town and destroying public property. Well, you could stop them, but you choose not to. So why would you worry about collusion? If they take turns and every week different store has Crown Royal for $22.99, fine. All right, so $23 versus $9. Is Crown Royal going to be $9 better than Royal Canadian? I find that hard to believe, but the color's the same. The color's the same. The color's the same. Amber, I poured too much. I know I did. Oh, I'm not saying I poured way too much, but I poured too much. Maybe I should have had it a little lower on each. Amber, just straight up amber. Do they add caramel coloring? Do they add caramel coloring? You know the answer to that question. Yes, they do. Are they aging it in used bourbon barrels? Generally, yes. Is that going to give it a lot of deep, rich, reddish color? No. The chard is going to get sucked up in the first run of the bourbon. And they might use these barrels for years, decades. So you're just going to get the wood, the benefit of the aging in the wood, but the char, I guess that would be like a curing situation, like a frying pan that's cured type thing. But you won't get any benefit from that, really. So do they want to sell Canadian whiskey that's clear or nearly clear? No, and they don't want to sell Scotch whiskey that's clear or nearly clear. So, and you know, the barrels could be different ages, right? So then you get different colors. And people are saying, what's wrong with the whiskey? So they add caramel color at a certain percentage where they got it, like a recipe, a chef, a blender at the distillery, and they know how to get it to where it always looks the same. Okay, got it. Now, nose. Very faint but noticeable whiskey, wood. My daughter said, ugh, that was her first announcement when we tried Royal Canadian a few years ago. Ugh. But as the video went on, she admitted it really doesn't taste bad. But she's used to drinking these expensive bourbons that her friend buys, or maybe even she buys. But she mostly buys gin and lets everybody try the craft style gin she buys or whatever gin, and then they'll let her try the bourbon. But I don't think she's going to go out and buy bourbon. So in her mind, it's so different than bourbon. It just threw her for a loop. And she said, well, it's not really bad. I have to admit, I wouldn't go run and buy it, but on the other hand, it's not great either. I'll say that Royal Canadian's sort of bland, but then so is Crown Royal. So is it a close approximation to Crown Royal? I think it is, but we're going to find out right now. Could I get tripped up trying to tell them apart? I think so, which would mean what? Royal Canadian wins. Little spice, some bread dough, almost like sourdough bread, believe it or not. Distilled grains, fermented grains. It's just like A bread. I don't know what it's bread. It's like a bread. It's like a liquid 40% alcohol bread. Now that might sound outrageous for me to say, but that's what it smells like. When you think about what makes up Canadian whiskey, corn, mostly corn, about 80%. Wheat whiskey, barley, malt whiskey, or in Scotland they call it single malt. Rye whiskey, a good percentage of rye relative to American products. And various flavorings like wine, rum, brandy even, and actual straight bourbon from America. So you get that, but it's like a multi-grain bread. But it is like a multi-grain drink. This one smells bland like that one, and in the same description I just gave, but lower in the nose, like less aroma, less sharp. Makes me think it's my nose makes me think it's the Crown Royal. Okay, I know Crown Royal is popular, and I know people buy it, and they almost invariably do mixed drinks with it, highballs, cocktails. They're not buying it because it's so aromatic. The flavors are exquisite, or any of those things. You know that. I know that. The American people know that. They're buying it because it's basic, and it looks pretty in the bottle, and it's a reliable, well-known brand, and it can make highballs and go about their business. Okay, now that's the truth. If you think people are buying Crown Royal so they can swish it around in a glass and talk about all the delicate qualities of it, that's not the normal world. Whiskey reviews, beer reviews, wine reviews is not the normal world. That's eccentric in a way. It is an eccentricity to want to do that. Is it a bad thing? Is it an immoral thing? No, it's a neutral thing. It's just something you want to do. Okay. You can watch it and be interested in it or ignore it, and that would be fine too. I ignore many videos, especially the ones that I have no interest in. Makes sense, right? Okay. Tastes woody. It's like a sharp wood oak note, no char. Well, that's that Royal Canadian, I think. Partusius Maximus. My grandfather used to say, make Granny another highball. Yeah. My father said, we drinking highballs. I say, oh boy, here we go. But he doesn't drink anything for the last 17 years. He says 18. I say 17. Doesn't really matter. Hey, well, I wouldn't drink anything either if it made me ill. His body's very weak anyway, but he would drink 1 Coors Light and run a fever. I say, boy, that'd stop me cold in a hot second. Drink 1 Coors Light, which is so watery, and you run a fever. Something wrong. His brothers and sister can drink all day, all night, never get sick. But they got a much stronger constitution. Okay, well, I can tell you right now what's the difference. Can I speak? The Crown Royal has more honey note, and I said that mentally. I'm going to remember that honey note. I don't think they talk about honey on the website. Let me look. Crown Royal Fine Deluxe, or as they're saying right here, Deluxe. So what's the name? Fine Deluxe or Deluxe? And then they got it spelled 2 different ways. D space Lux. D Lux. But in the description, they got it spelled Deluxe. D-E-L-U-X-E, no space. This is a huge company, man. This is one of the biggest liquor companies in the world, but we don't have a consistency here. We're spelling it 2 different ways. We're giving it 2 different names. Am I the only one to notice these kind of inconsistencies? Rich and robust with slight hints of vanilla and fruit. I would say slight hints of bready yeast and wood, but I don't know how that would sound in a write-up, but that's what I'm smelling. Palate, delicately smooth and creamy. Okay. With hints of oak. Yeah, I said that. And sweet flavor of vanilla. Vanilla. Let's see about vanilla. Yeah, I guess so. But honey, finish long and lingering. I wouldn't say that. I would say it's moderate, and it's gone. But that's them. This is me. They make it. I don't. They're experts. I ain't. I'm not an expert. I might be better at writing a write-up. You know what I mean? I might be better at doing the descriptions on the website, and I would spell everything the same way. I wouldn't give the whiskey 3 different names. I wouldn't spell deluxe 2 different ways right in front of people. But that's just me. Details, attention to detail. It's got some honey too, but it's not as pronounced. You know what this one has more of? You know what the Royal Canadian has more of? Rye. More rye bread spiciness. It's a more rye up whiskey. Makes sense because Sazerac Company is like rye up. You know what I mean? They just are fixated, desiccated, degraded on rye. But I like rye too, yeah. But if you get like their Canadian Leaf, which is from Maryland, Baltimore County, Maryland. That stuff is so rye spicy. It makes you want to eat kosher pickles, potato chips, and a Reuben sandwich. And coleslaw. But I don't know. Which one tastes better? That's a good question. Now we're down to the cut and dry of it, aren't we? Rye not. Yeah, rye not. Which one tastes better? Oh, by golly. Oh, by gosh, by golly. Okay. Neither one of them tastes wonderful. I'm gonna be more direct. Does either one taste bad? They're far from bad. I wanted to say Crown Royal was more refined and more elegant, but no, I'm not too sure about that. They're kind of okay. And for $14 a bottle difference, and they're both okay, I think we can all figure out who the winner is and which one I'd buy. Why would I ever pay $22.99 for a Canadian whiskey when I could buy another one for $8.99 and the differences are minimal and the enjoyment level is identical? Short story long, I wouldn't. And if somebody came to my house and said, "What's some whiskey that I could drink?" and I had Royal Canadian, and they tried to call me cheap and say you should buy something good like Crown Royal, I'd say, why don't you go do a blind taste test? How many people do blind taste tests? Not too many. This is true for most consumer. I want to backtrack that. This is true for many consumer products. Blind taste test. What you thought was such a big difference, you find out it may not be any difference. You may not be able to tell it apart, but those labels, boy, will they make a difference. Buying mayonnaise, coffee, especially coffee. People are really whiz bang wild on coffee, but and I drank it all the time. But like they'll claim, I would never buy Great Value from Walmart. I buy real coffee from some name brand, and I'm like, yeah, the name brand probably makes the Great Value. But do a blind taste test. Just name a big brand of coffee, and then think of Great Value. I've tasted them all. Medium, let's say medium roast. That's your most common roast, right? Medium roast. Is Great Value a big drop off from the main brands? I don't think it's a drop off at all. You want to be techno? If you want to be techno, I could buy a 48-ounce canister of Great Value at Walmart right now for $7.42. That was the last price I saw, $7.42. The price dropped, and I could trick people at work because they're like fixated on community coffee. Oh, that's the real coffee, community from Baton Rouge. Okay, medium roast. You know how bland medium roast is. I could slip the Great Value in there, make the coffee. Ain't a person in that place would tell you somebody tricked them. I trick them all the time. They got this thing about bottled water. They want to drink bottled water, bottled water. They wouldn't dream of drinking faucet water. It's so nasty. It ruins everything. I say, yeah, okay. So then I'll make the coffee sometimes when nobody's looking. I use straight faucet water. And guess how many times people noticed? You're right. That's how many times they noticed. Never. There's a lot of tricks in this world. Don't fall for them. And trick this. I would not pay $1 more, if you want to be honest, between these two. Okay, Crown Royal's got a pretty bottle. I'll be the first to admit it's got a fancy cap. Looks like a crown in beautiful plastic. It's got the name recognition. It's #1 in the world for Canadian whiskey, #1 whiskey of any sort in Louisiana, and all those things. That's great. Havana's great. But I wouldn't pay for it. Do I plan to climb the ladder and get better grades of Crown Royal? The black, the reserve, all those other variants that are more expensive. Well, yeah, I do plan to get those. Would I expect that they'll be better? Yeah. Is there a higher grade Royal Canadian? Yeah. Not that you'd ever know by looking at Sazerac's horrible website. They got it listed just in their product specifications, which tells you nothing. But there's a Royal Canadian 12-year age small batch in a fancier bottle, costs a lot more than $8.99. Would I expected it to be better than this? Well, yeah, if I'm paying more, it better be better. Not that I've ever seen it. It's got like a red label. Did a blind taste test with Walmart coffee and Jamaican Blue Mountain. Oh, Montaigne is the way you spell it. World-class coffee, big difference. See, that's the difference if you do the blind taste test. Sometimes it's a big difference. Sometimes there's no difference. This morning, here's a good example. No difference. Minimal. No real difference. No practical difference. All right. That's got to be Crown Royal, though. That honey note. I'm gonna look at the label. I sure hope it says CR. Ah ha 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 ha. How you feel played? Because this is what, the 11th time or 10th. I got to check my records. I got it right 10 out of 11 times or 9 out of, yeah, it's 10 out of 11, I think. I'm gonna go back and check. Oh, yeah. Does Crown Royal taste like all the rest? No. Can I tell them apart? Yes. Would I pay extra? No. Woo! It's a party, you all. All right. Coming up next. Well, I got Albertsons Canadian blended whiskey. You say, oh boy, I'm getting excited now. Yeah, I don't even think they make it anymore. Albertsons of all things. Beautiful bottle, actually, for a store brand, private label. Who makes it? You say, Albertsons. I've been to their distillery. You liar. They don't have such a thing. It's contract like every store brand. And you know who makes it? Sazerac. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. And it tastes remarkably identical to Canadian Hunter. Ha, ha, ha. Ha, ha, ha. I bought it for $4.99 a bottle on a closeout tag, the green tag. Ha, ha, ha. Did I ever see it again? No, no, no. Am I glad I bought it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it going to beat Crown Royal? Probably. Now, think about that for a minute. Let that sink in. $4.99, $4.99, $4.99, and Crown Royal is $22.99, and the $4.99 is going to beat it. I really believe that. Oh, it's a different flavor. You know, it's not, they're not the same. But I kind of like those little quirky, funny bone flavors that Sazerac Canadian whiskeys have. Not the Royal Canadian. They make that more standardized like Crown Royal. But you say, because you got a sweet tooth and you're like a child, you like candy. I don't like candy too much unless it's in whiskey. I am like a child. All right, so thank you for watching this video production. Crown Royal loses again. Well, they're consistent. I got to give them that. And secondly, I got it correct for the 10th out of the 11th time. I do believe that's the correct numbers. 10 out of 11. I'm so happy with that. I was a little concerned that it would be much, you know, I thought it was going to be difficult. Now, what's the Scotch coming up? Scotch coming up. Grants. But that's about as standard as they come. So that could be a real challenge. You know, Grants taste like everything else. Thank you.